This is Leicester Till I Die TV. Watch and subscribe on YouTube and listen on your podcast platform.
Hi everybody, Jerry Taggart here. Now be sure to watch Chris and Leicester Till I Die TV by subscribing on YouTube and following them on social media for all the latest Leicester City news and information. Come on you foxes!
Strap yourself in because we're set up, switched on and ready to go.
Seven, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
And it's live.
Good evening, fellow Fox fans. How the devil are we? It's Monday night. I know you're not used to seeing me or my chat chums. We're here doing a special. What a weekend it was. This is Leicester Till I Die TV. You can catch us live on YouTube, Leicester Till I Die TV. Obviously, please give us a subscribe. We'd love you forever. On Facebook, Leicester Till I Die, the group, and on Twitter, at Leicester TID. Well, what a weekend. It started out full of hope, and then it all went a little bit tits up. Tell you what, Rodgers said he feels let down by the players. Did the players only let Rodgers down? Did he let the club down? Did they let the teammates down? More importantly, after that result, did they let the fans down? Was Morgan involved? There's a lot of rumours going around saying Wes Morgan was involved. As club captain, should he not know better? And what will the young players make of this example? The young players that are coming through, like Luke Thomas, and the others that I can't pronounce, they're going to be looking at this and thinking, well, if it's okay for them, is this how we act as Premier League players? And who was hurt by missing the game? You know, the players will not get their performance bonus. Brad will come on in a minute and tell you maybe it's more than that. I don't know. But they certainly won't get the performance bonus. They won't get a win bonus. Certainly not going to get that. But look at the table now, 1 point ahead of West Ham. Is it not the fans that have been hurt? If we don't qualify for the Champions League at the end of the day, is this going to be the 3 points that we're going to look back on and think, if only? We are the richest club. Well, we're the 19th richest club in the world, according to the newspapers today. Just let that sink in. The 19th richest club in the world. We're not a League One playing away to Yeovil team anymore. We're in the top four. We've been there all season. We should be setting examples. Or have they been punished enough? Was that enough? Do we forgive them? We've got an FA Cup semi-final coming up. All I'll say is La Manga 1, La Manga 2, Thailand, and now COVID. We like a bit of trouble at Leicester, don't we? This is Leicester Till I Die. We want to hear your thoughts. We do. But just before we start, I just want to mention this book. You'll hear me mentioning it a lot during the month. Barrie Pierpoint. He was Leicester's first chief executive. Hey, you think things are bad now. You want to go back to the 1990s. I'll tell you. First chief executive, took us public, turned the club around, was hounded out at the end. Get the book. Read it. It's a great story. If you're old like me, it will give you another perspective. If you're young, it's a great book about the history of the club. And at the moment, if you go to the website, www.mindingmyownbusiness.com, There you are. You see, for April only, you'll get 30% off. 30% off Minding My Own Football Business by Barrie Pierpoint. It is well worth a read, and we thank Barrie for supporting this channel. And he's going to be coming up with on the show in a bit, hopefully. And later in the month, we'll be giving away a free signed copy with a personal message. But we want to hear what you think about the situation. Let's just get a few comments in first of all before I bring my chat chums in. Andy, good evening, Andy. They let everybody down and then go out and play golf. It's disgusting. If that is true, and he was playing golf, and I've only seen a picture of a car in a car park, so to be honest with you, he could have been in Asda. But he has got a habit of going to places when he's not playing, but he should really maybe have been watching the game. I don't know. That's just my thought. Andy Madders has just pissed his England place away. Yep, we'll come on to that later, actually. Mad Jason, good evening, Mad. For once, I think your name probably matches the mood. What has happened with the club? I don't know what has happened. Basically, Jason, 4 players, possibly 5, we don't know, broke COVID rules, went to a party, hid from the manager. And this is the worst bit. They hid from the manager when the manager came round. They're grown adults and they were hiding from the manager. Found out and they were banned and didn't play against West Ham, a 6-pointer game, which we went on to lose. Basically, that's it in a nutshell, mate. New COVID. Hands, advice, hands, face, and party. Oh, dear. I don't know about that one, Andy. Terry, good evening. They've let everyone down. It would be nice if they grew some balls and apologised. I agree. I think they should come out and make a public apology. Rob, good evening, Rob. Nice to have you along as normal. Evening, guys. Brendan handled it well in the circumstances. Players think the rules don't apply to them, so good to see them being dropped and fined. I don't think they've been fined, have they? I think he said he wasn't going to fine them because, let's face it, I think the maximum fine is probably a week's wages, and that's pissing in a pot to some of these players, isn't it? I think they were just dropped and just lost their fees for the game. I think that's all it was, to be honest with you, but I don't think they suffered at all, if I'm totally honest with you. What Brendan's doing behind the scenes, I don't know. But I really, really think he's handled it well. He's kept it internal. Of course he has. But again, it's letting the club down. And how many times have we got to say this? It's not just letting them down. It's letting the name of the club, dragging it through the dirt. Don't start me off again. Let's start these people off and we'll bring them in and say good evening, first of all, to Brad. Good evening, Brad.
Good evening, Chris. This is going to be an interesting one.
It could well be.
An interesting one.
And let's bring the wide old sage in who's been there, seen it, got the T-shirt. Craig, good evening.
Good evening, Brad. Good evening, Chris. I just want to say I can't be on long because I've just had a message from Hamza. There's a party number 2, so I've just got to be on my way. So keep it brief.
Hamza, the only guy that hasn't been missing the hairdressers for the last 3 or 4 months.
I
Hey,
tell you
mate.
what, Craig, if you're talking to Hamza, ask Perez why he's not messaging me. I'm his best mate. He should be asking me to these parties.
Yeah.
Well, where will you be hiding though, Craig? If Brendan turns up, you're going to be in the cupboard under the stairs.
Well, I've had a look on Google Maps at Hamza's pad, and there's plenty of place to hide in that place. I can tell you.
Probably right. And can I just say how disappointed I was that, of course, it messed your team selection up for the game.
I know. It was ridiculous, wasn't it? I had it all planned.
Yeah.
I didn't take into account partying. I'm going to have to do that in future.
Well, learn your lesson, young Craig. Learn your lesson, you know. I'm not sure who this is here. Facebook user has said 2 weeks Instagram ban would hurt Maddison more than a 2-month wage fine. Now, Andy's saying here, and I haven't seen this yet, to be honest with you, Perez has apologised on Twitter and has said he will sign a shirt and a pair of boots.
Right. Actually, I've seen that, and I don't think that's his official Twitter. I believe the Twitter handler is Fish for that. I'm not sure, I could be wrong, but does anyone know what Perez's official Twitter handle name is?
I can find it out. Yes,
I wouldn't believe that his official Twitter handle name is @KingKalichi14. Because that's the one that's put it up.
I saw that account earlier because with Twitter you follow somebody and then you see what they're following, etc. And I saw that come up and I thought, no, that's not the official pair. I didn't see that comment, so no.
Yeah, that's the exact comment he's talking about because I saw it and then I went to reply to it, and as I got halfway through it, I realised it was @KingKalichi14. I thought, I don't think that's his official Twitter handle that he's using.
No. His official Twitter will actually be on the website or lcfc.com, so you can you'll be able to sort of check that, and it definitely isn't that.
Yeah. Although he did call Newcastle a tin pot. He did call Newcastle a tin pot club, so he has got an idea of how to speak about Perez. His thoughts. So, but no,
sorry, you were going to say, mate.
To my knowledge.
No, I was going to say I think his Twitter handle is Party Boy Perez 1.
This is going to last a little bit, isn't it? But Craig, and I'll come to you this, and no disrespect, because you like me, we're the older two of the three here. I mean, it goes back, and I mentioned them there, La Manga 1 and 2, Thailand, and Brad, you'll remember, I don't know if you remember the manga fiascos, but Thailand, you will remember. It drags the club down into the mire, doesn't it?
It does. The tabloids are always looking for another football story. As much as you hear about all the good stuff that Marcus Rashford may do and others of his ilk, as soon as there's any bad stuff, they jump on it, and they'll be digging like hell. They're going to be digging through everything. I wouldn't be surprised if there's a social media blockade on the Leicester players, to be honest, because they'll be all over it. And I think going back to previous misdemeanors, we should call them, I can't remember anyone who survived a lengthy career at the club afterwards, to be honest. And I think Brendan's probably pissed off as much because it puts a hell of a lot of pressure on him into how to deal with these players now. And we've seen when the owners feel disrespected, they come down heavy and they expect things to be done. So it's going to be interesting. And I think that's one of the things. I put a post on Facebook yesterday saying that not only disrespected Brendan and the players, they disrespected the fans, but also they disrespected the owners. And we've seen them enough times come out on social media and say how amazing their owners are. They do anything for these guys. They look up to Kun Vichai, and the fans are amazing, blah, blah, blah. It's all lip service. It's actions speak louder than words. And they need to be either put in front of a camera to apologise, or something needs to be said. But I think it's a tough time for Brendan, and the last thing he needs right now.
Just to check what you were saying there, Brad, I always see Perez, his official Twitter handle is @APG. So
yes, I think a lot of people did get fooled by it, and some noticed just at the last minute that it wasn't.
The picture is very, very similar, and he might have even have pinched his profile picture as well.
Probably has. The account will probably no doubt eventually get done, or he'll change it. He'll get struck into something. But it's not really. That's not really the banter you want to see, is it? Someone trying to get.
No. Craig, just going on what you said there about the press. I can remember years and years ago when I left Leicester and I went up to Blackpool with my first move with my job, and I had to actually end up buying the northern, because I was in the northern edition of the Sun, because it was the only paper that covered Leicester, because most papers would, and it would literally be a little bit in the corner. Now papers, well, let's be honest with you, they're dying a death. But, they're the paper's internet sites and 24-hour Sky News and 24-hour news generally, there's all this space to fill up. But, Brad, like Craig said there, Brendan was between a rock and a hard place, because he's got to have been seen to do something, because these rumours were breaking. But, whatever... He says, if you find the players, it would be like pissing in the pot. But did he make the right decision in dropping them? And I know hindsight's a marvellous thing. We lost that game, and it's as tight as a duck's arse now in that top four.
I mean, someone actually made the exact same point there, and I thought I must have typed that up. That's a bloody essay I normally write. I'll let you read that one, Chris.
Thanks, mate.
But it is a hard one. But you feel like the reaction that the club and how swift they've done things, that this protocol isn't just something they've kind of decided on a flip of a coin. This sounds like something that the players were very aware of. This is your protocol. These are the rules. These are the things you can and can't do with the current situation in the world. If you do this, this is what will happen. If you do this, this is what will happen. And these guys have broke it. And I have to give Rodgers a lot of credit, because for a guy who looked very fuming and did a very professional job to handle the questions, you know, I think he reacted in the right way. Because if you turn around to someone who broke a major protocol at any other workplace, right, and people were calling for the sack and overreacting, and you decided as a boss that would be such a big risk because you'd lose a very good worker for one very silly, stupid incident. It is silly, stupid, but you give them the option of losing 50 quid of the pay or not turning up to work and getting no money for a week. They're going to snap your hand off for the 50 quid take and come back to work. Yeah. And then you're going to have more angry staff, more angry work colleagues that are going, that's not fair. That's rubbish. They should, you know. The thing is that was good about it is it was consistent, because you've seen other players around the world that have broke protocol and you've kind of gone, yeah, but that's only because he's in the first team. If he was a reserve player, I mean, he chucked out the door. Well, you've got Hamza, who's looking like he was going to go anyway. I know this may not have influenced it, but Hamza looks like he wanted out anyway with the rumours at January. Perez has become a fringe player. It's only in the last couple of games where he's had a run that he's actually shown any intent. Morgan, we don't know about, so I'm not going to speak about it. Barnes, I've heard, but I've never heard anything solid from Brendan, unless one of you two want to tell me differently. So again, I'm not going to comment on him. The one that really suffers, which is annoying because they all deserve to suffer the same fate, is Maddison. Because they all had to sit there and watch their team in a situation where, unlike the season where we've had injuries and they've not played, and it's not been their fault, it was their fault.
Yeah.
They should have been
on that point, Brad. Yeah, sorry to interrupt, just trying to sort of keep it tidy. But taking you up on that point and going back to Craig, one member of the Bird family seems to speak sense here. Unfortunately, it's Andrew. But no, he has made the fact, and Brad's made a very, very, very good point there, is you don't want to, going back on the point you made earlier about players not staying at the club long after this has happened. I mean, if it is Morgan, and you'd be very, very disappointed if it was Morgan, because he's the club captain and he's been round long enough, you know, he's been there, seen it, etc. That would be extremely disappointing. Chowdhury, yeah, I wanted to keep him in January as a squad player, but to be totally honest with you, he offers nothing we haven't got other than the fact that he's an extra body. Perez, Brad made a good point. He's only just come good. Would we miss him? No. Barnes and Maddison are the ones. So you've got to be careful you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, don't you?
It's a really difficult position that he's in, Brendan. It was interesting that after, in the post-match interview, the interviewer put it to him and said, wouldn't it have been easier to play them and find them and then sort it all out later? And his response was, it would if you're weak. So he stamped his foot down there and clearly showing that it won't be tolerated. Now, you know, he's come out and said, you know, they put it behind them and it's a clean sheet, a clean slate for next week. I'm not so sure. I wonder if he spoke to the other players before he decided what he was going to do and got their reaction. Because it could go another way, couldn't it? You know, unless the rest of the players are on board with his decision, they might be like, well, hang on a minute, mate. We need our best players. We should be playing them regardless. You're affecting us. The players who did nothing wrong are now being affected by having to play in a weakened team. So, and that could jeopardize their own European thing. So, we don't know how that's going to go. I would hope that they're all backing Brendan and it was a collective almost that said, yes, this has to be done, to stamp down and say that you won't accept any of it.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean, it will be. And at the end of the day, whether we finish top 4 or top 5, and I'm going to bring a couple of headlines up in a minute, but whether we finish top 4 or we finish 5th, 6th, 7th, we've said before, will depend on the players that we're able to bring into the club and whether the players stay, whether we're in the Champions League or not. And we could miss out, as we did last year, by the skin of our teeth again. And this would be the game that will be looked back on. And this will hang over those players' heads until the minimum of the end of the season. And I think if we finish in the top 4, Brad, and we do finish in that top 4 and we actually qualify for the Champions League, it might all get forgotten in the euphoria and we move on. If we don't, this is going to drag on to next season, and it will be there that these were the players that cost us Champions League.
Yeah, and like you said, both of you said the media will use that to make a mountain out of a molehill. Now, before everybody starts shooting at me and throwing dirt at me and bricks at my window when I make the statement, I don't want the likes of Maddison, who is a first-team player, to come out and apologise. I want his apology on the pitch. And I think I agree with Craig. I think the way he handled that interview and his answer he gave was spot on. Because like you said in your rant at the start, Chris, when you got you aired your views, right? What message does that send to the youngsters? That sends to the youngsters that it doesn't matter if you're first team, youth team, reserve, or a brand new signing. If you break the rules that are set by the club standards, you're going to face the same punishment. That tells the youngsters, well, flip, that weren't me. I'm glad I turned down I'm glad I declined the invite to the party. It's one of them. An apology can be done in different ways. A lot worse, and I'm not defending it, I'm just making a comparison point. Footballers throughout the generations have done a lot worse, disgraced their name a lot worse, and come back by doing exactly what I've just stated. Anyone remember Cantona kicking a fan?
I was going to say, but with Cantona, he sat in front of a press conference and apologised.
Yeah, but sometimes what we like to do as human beings is we like to just criticise for the sake of criticising. Chris, you'll know with something I post about any actor that one guy just wanted to have a moan for the sake of moaning.
Yes.
And I remember a certain scandal. I'm just going to give it quickly if you don't know it because it's boring to go into. Cricket scandal. The Australians cheated with the sandpaper, didn't they? And he instantly put them out in front of the cameras, and they were crying and emotional. And the backlash they got, not just from English fans because it's England Australia Ashes, but their own kind came out and went, it means nothing. It's done. And at the end of the day, yes, you feel a bit better in yourself hearing an apology. And I get it if they come out on social media and apologise. I think you'll get some form of apology when he's in front of a camera. And that camera won't come, and he'll want that question to be asked of him if he gets an assist or scores the winner or Leicester win the FA Cup semi-final comfortably and he's one of the best players on the pitch. That's how a player like Maddison can do it.
Yeah.
And that would be his response because he can earn the respect back.
Yeah. But Craig, on that point, and I'm sorry, I'm standing my ground here and I want to see them make a public apology. There's hiding behind social media. Yeah, they can put it on social media, but we all know social media accounts half the time is run by the club or the secretary or the wife or somebody like that. Hashtag Rebecca Vardy. We all know it's not run by the people themselves. So an apology on social media isn't worth, a piss in the snow. Where, to go out in front of the camera, I'm not saying break down and that, and yeah, that did make them look silly. I remember it. But it also gets it out the way because if we now go on and beat Southampton, let's say 2-0, and Maddison gets the second goal and assist for the first, he's man of the match, he's been interviewed after, it would mean that he's more likely to get questioned about the game than he is about this, because he's come out, he's apologised, it's been put to bed. Nigel Pearson, Ostrich Gate. He came out. He was made to come out. He was made to eat humble pie. He sat there. That was the most uncomfortable 30 minutes, Craig, that I have seen a manager have to endure. He did it, and it was put to bed, and it moved on.
I think you'll get some kind of statement, but I think it will be on the official club website. To be honest, I think Brendan, if Brendan still wants these players at the club, part of their rehabilitation for him to get them back on board will be that he will say, I will protect you. And you've got to do exactly what Brad said. Yeah. You do your talking on the pitch. I will protect you. I will keep you away from the glare of having to go in front of a camera. I don't think you'll see these guys in front of a camera. Even if Maddison scores 3 goals and scores a hat-trick and we get through to the cup final, I think Brendan will keep him away from it, because you cannot control what the media are going to ask you. Yeah, we want to talk to him about his 3 goals. Yeah, okay, we've done that. Now we want to ask you about this. So I don't think they'll come anywhere near a camera. I think you'll get a statement through the club website.
A point made there, Facebook user, don't know your name, excellent point. You know, he made the big issue of the shaking hands, you know, from a distance. So it shows really that he didn't really give a shit, as that guy says, and I tend to agree. You know, it's doing A and then going and doing B. You know, I'm sorry, it just doesn't wash. And I'm not saying, you know, you come out and you make the apology in front of the cameras. It doesn't mean you have to take questions. How often do we say, I'm not taking questions, I'm just going to make a statement? It happens all the time with football clubs, mainly owners when they've sacked managers and what have you, because they can't talk. But, you know, that's, to me, you know, I just want to, I think if they don't come out and make a public apology on camera, I think it's a big disgrace from all of them, to be honest with you. And I think they should be made to do that. I know. Sorry. I just want. I know you'll want to speak on that as well, Brad. In this day and age, if you come out in front of a camera, within 30 seconds, you'll be some kind of meme. You know, it will be taken. It will be overdubbed. You'll have God knows what. People will be talking about. Look at his face. You know, there'll be body language. It'll be all over the place, and it'll be dissected. I don't think there's a winner. Yes, as fans, we may hear them say it, but even then, do we believe it? We've just come out and said, you know, they do these celebrations, you know, and then they go and do the partying, so they don't believe it. Why would we believe it if they stand in front of a camera? For me, I don't think there's any winner in coming out and doing that. How do we believe it if the club makes a statement on their behalf? They've not done it. Look at Canty, Brad, when he left and he made that, I'm really sorry to believe in Football Club Leicester. He couldn't even get the bloody name right. He didn't write that. Somebody wrote it for him. And I'm sorry.
They used his words. Let's get that correct first. First off, they quoted him on his words, and his English wasn't brilliant. You just remember where he came from, and it's not his divine language to speak English at that point. I get where you're coming from.
He's been there a year. He knows it's Leicester City Football Club. It's plastered all over.
Yes, I know, but whoa, hold on a minute. But you said someone else wrote that, so the person who wrote it didn't know it was Leicester City Football Club. Yeah, and then foreigners.
So my point there was that you don't know that the players are writing it.
Yeah, exactly, and I get that. And here's where I think you'll find a happy medium for both yourself and me and Craig in this, in an all-round apology. It's not going to get avoided, right? Maddison could score a hat-trick, set up 3, and get man of the match, 10, whatever, had the best performance. He will get asked the questions about that match, and then he'll get asked, is that your reaction, a way of apologising to the fans? I've seen how Maddison handles his press interviews. They will poke and twist and bop it and flick it and spin it and all that to try and get a reaction out of it. And he will come out like any professional would in that situation, and goes, I just want to get it out of the way before the questions get asked. I let the club down. I let my teammates down, and I can never make up for that. All I can ask for is your forgiveness. And that performance today is step one of many performances I hope to be able to put in for you to get your forgiveness. And that's how Maddison will hand it, because he's the press manager. He's the one that's always first on Match of the Day, BBC, BT, that Rodgers trusts in front of the camera. Yeah. I can't speak for the rest of them, but I think that's how they will handle it.
If he trusts him in front of the camera, then put him in front of the camera, because the longer they stay silent...
Let the media do that for him, because like you said, a quick apology, people on social media become experts in anything that's
let's say against Southampton, and I can see Barry's in the green room. Just bear with us, Barry. I'll bring you in a second. Let's say we go to Wembley. We lose against Southampton, and Maddison's pulled off after 50 minutes because he's having a bad game. When does the apology come then? He hasn't made an apology because he's had a bad game. I just don't see what's wrong with them coming out, being made to stand in front of the town and say, well, we're not going to take any questions, guys. Here's the statements. We'll be looking at body language when we, if he stands in front of the camera after the game. So this body language thing could happen anyway, But
what's better, an organised apology or an apology that he makes from the statement? If he comes out and doesn't let the media ask them questions.
These players don't do anything these days that isn't organised. They don't wipe their arse unless they're being told they're allowed to wipe their arse.
Yeah, but like I just said, if he comes straight out and addresses it, because like I said, Maddison is the head one for Leicester to do the press interviews. If Maddison doesn't let the questions roll with the media and comes out and goes, look, we've wanted to handle this right way. We discussed it in the meeting when we broke protocol. Me, Brendan and the others had a discussion, and I want to make the statement. We felt it was right to wait until this moment so I could approach it without coming under scrutiny for it being, oh, you're only doing it because the club told you to. I'm doing this off my own back. So if you can make that approach, a club statement to me is just words on papers. Actions speak louder than words. I
agree with the club statement, but we'll agree to disagree because we'll go around in circles.
Otherwise, Barry will be sat in the background all day.
Yeah, exactly. And I just think you two are wrong and I'm right. And the sooner you accept that, the better. I personally, for me, do it, get it over with, and then we can move on. Because, like I say, if he goes and scores 2 goals, he's man of the match, he'll be in front of the camera, that's great. But if it doesn't, it drags on a little bit longer, and it drags on anyway. But, like I say, we'll just a bit. But this is how it all came out. Maddison, Perez and Chowdhury were all left out of the squad for the game versus West Ham after a breach of COVID protocols. The breach was due to attendance at a party at Perez's house. Allegedly, the party saw up to 18 others attend. Rodgers sent a message to the players after finding out about the party, only for guests to hide before moving on to Chowdhury's house to continue the party. It's a kick in the teeth when you're hiding from the manager. Let's bring Barry in. Barry, good evening, Barry. Thank you for being patient and waiting there and listening to the rants. Barry, who you remember was our first chief executive. And I'm sure you had moments like this, but we'll come on to that. And he's written this really good book. Craig got a copy. You've read it, haven't you, Craig? My own football business. Great read. I think I've got to be honest with you, Barry. It changed my opinion of you, and I'm going to be honest with you there. but I think we all have this opinion of, you see, like Brad was saying, you see what's in the press and everything, and that's how you form your opinions. That is a really good book. And I tell you what, guys, go to mindingmyownfootballbusiness.co.uk. By the end of April, get 30% off. Barry, what's your take on all this? Put a sensible head on this, because us three are being totally unsensible.
First of all, can you hear me all right? Am I okay? Am I coming through clear or not?
Yeah, just about, yeah.
I think from my point of view, when I was the CEO of Leicester, we had issues like this. Obviously, first of all, I would say that I am very disappointed that the players have let the club, the manager, the chairman and the fans down, because that is irresponsible what they did, knowing that there's a COVID situation, knowing there are laws, knowing what they should do and what they shouldn't do. That was very immature, very irresponsible, and they're supposed to be role models. I mean, the young kids of today look upon these players as role models, and that's not the way that you would show young kids how to go about behaving and being respectable and people looking up to them. Trouble is, I think the problem is, and it's been like this when I was at Leicester City, some players always think they're beyond the law. They always think they're bigger than the club. They always think that they're untouchable, and quite frankly, they're not. And these people need to be educated to be more responsible. They think they're being clever because they can do things behind the scenes. But I'll tell you what, every time a player does something behind the scenes, somebody finds out, the press find out, and they make a meal of it. And I've had a lot of issues with the press, as you know, in my time. And
indeed,
meals, everything. So it's a difficult one, but what do you do? I mean, the manager is responsible for the players. It's his decision what to do. If the chairman or the CEO or anybody else interfered and told him to do something different to what he'd done, they would be undermining the manager. And you can't undermine a manager. He's the guy responsible for those players. He's responsible for on the pitch, and he's responsible for their actions. They've let him down very badly. You could argue that, if we played the ones that could play, would they have still won the game? I don't know. Nobody can say that. So, by not playing them, or if you had played them, would the results still been the same? That's what you've got to ask yourself. I think the club is trying to come across as very professional. I mean, I think this club is very, very lucky to have so much money pumped into it. It's not true. If I had that sort of money when I was at Leicester City, I tell you what, I'd have been flying high. And, people ought to appreciate that, and the players ought to appreciate the amount of investment in that club. And they've let the owners down badly. And they're the people who's putting millions and millions of pounds into all the nice facilities for the players to enjoy, where some clubs haven't got those facilities. I do think the players are, as I said, irresponsible, they're immature, and I think that they ought to pay the penalty. Now, I heard the conversation about the press. Let me say this. Dealing with the press is difficult because you need to do damage limitation. Because if you put players in front of the press and get them there, the press will hammer them, they will damage them, and they will make them feel about 2 inches tall. What we can't do is you need limited damage limitation when you're dealing with the press. We cannot have people being embarrassed and made to feel as if they are, murderers or killers or whatever. They've done wrong. We know they've done wrong, and they know they've done wrong, and hopefully they'll learn a lesson from that. But I think the club has to put a statement out. I don't think it should be a prolonged thing. I think a quick response, give people the answer that they need. The manager's taken his actions for whatever reason he's taken them, and different managers work differently. Some managers might have paid the players that can play and fined them huge amounts of money. Other managers, like what Brendan's done, has made them pay the price by not playing them on that particular game. I am sad, and I'm disappointed that people of that ilk now, and the money they're being paid and what their responsibilities are, have let a lot of people down.
Well, I've got to say, I'm disappointed you didn't agree with me, Barry. That's it now. Your book's going in the bin.
Chris, I don't think it's a good idea to put players on the platform and get people to shout at them and throw questions at them and embarrass them and belittle them, because that isn't the answer. The incident's happened. The idea is to move on and get it out of the way and carry on with the goodness. As I said, if those players who could play have played, the results might have still been the same. You don't know. You don't know what might have happened. You can't just blame it on the fact that, the players were taken out of the squad and therefore that's why the results as it is. You can't just say that. I've seen games where we've had a great cracking team and we've still lost. So you can't say that. And I think that's just what people are. And the problem is with rumours and problems with statements, if you don't hit them quickly with answers and with damage limitation, you get fans creating all sorts of rumours about different things, making up their own stories and scenarios, and then the next thing you know, the press are printing things that's totally fabric to what's gone off. And I've had all that before, as you know.
Yes.
So I've told the press one thing and they put something else in, which is different to what I said. So what I'm saying to you is, no, those guys now, they have realised what they've done. They will be embarrassed, they will be shamed, and they will be disgusted of their stupid actions and should have thought about it before they did it. They really have, you know, a lot to learn, and they've learned a lesson, I should think, the hard way. And I'm sorry for the fans, I'm sorry for the club, sorry for the owners, I'm sorry for the manager, because he's the guy who's had to sort that mess out. And that is a mess, to be honest.
I mean, very, very, very good words. And let's be honest with you, we would all be sat, I believe, having a different conversation had we won the game. In fact, we probably wouldn't even be having this conversation now. And I'm gonna hold my hand up to that. You know, my first reaction, as you've just pointed out there, Barry, was we lost because we had no Maddison in there. You know, we've had Maddison in when we've lost games before. There's no guarantee, you know, that would have happened. And like I say, I don't think this show would be on the air had we won the game. My worry is, and I can't remember the exact incidents, but will players learn from this? Because this is Hamza's second one this year, second. I was going to say bookable offence then, not bookable, but second time he's gone astray. And somebody said this is Maddison's second time as well. So they're not learning, and that's the worrying thing. And like you say, what does it show to the younger players?
I think the trouble is some players, as I've already said, will never learn. No matter what you do with them, when you fine them a year's wages, they still won't learn. They will think they're above the law, they'll think they're bigger than the club, and they will just carry on doing what they want to do. And that is so sad and so shameful. And somehow they ought to be punished in a way that they will regret ever doing what they're doing, and they'll learn a lesson from it. And they need to learn a lesson from this, because the whole club, I would imagine everybody associated who works there feels so bad about what's happened, because it's in the national press. It's, you know, been probably blown out of proportion anyway. But it's the wrong thing to do in a time like this when there's a pandemic on. And even though people have had jabs and some people are okay, it's still the law. And they've broken the law, and they're not above the law, but they think they are. They're not. Yes.
And I mean, Andrew has just said there, timing was impeccable. Would we be, you know, no, as I've just said, Andrew, we wouldn't be having this conversation, I don't think, if we won. I mean, what I'm going to say is, and whilst we've all got opinions, that's what football's all about, and I don't necessarily agree with Brendan's decision in just dropping them and that's the end of it. That said, Brendan's come out of this really, really well. I mean, he's handled this brilliantly. He's, you know, in front of the press. He's taken it calmly. And then you look across, you know, a game that was played, you know, after hours, and you've got Manchester United manager accusing one of the Tottenham players that he wouldn't feed him if he'd gone down like that, if he was his child. The other manager coming out and having to go back at him. In fairness, I've got to say, despite everything I have said earlier, well done, Brendan.
I think Brendan Rodgers is a very, very professional manager compared to some managers I've either worked with or know of or been associated with. Brendan is a very, very professional person. You've got to admire him for that. You've got to support him. Whatever decision he took, he's done it obviously with great care and great interest and with the great sort of reasons why. And I think that man, you know, credit to him, he is a very professional manager in the way he conducts himself, what he does, and how he presents himself, and along with the players as well. I mean, I'm sure he will take the players to one side at some point and have a very big conversation and even probably a little lecture about, you know, what they've done, those players have done, to the damage of the club. The club has been damaged by what those players have done. And I, for one, was never wanting to see the club in the headlines of being damaged, because it's not good when you're trying to build up a reputation of being a family club, a caring club, and all that sort of thing. Look, that for example there, You know, you want to make sure that people, you know, respect the club and support the club. And when people like the players let them down, then that's really damaging for the club. And it's so sad because it takes a long time to build up a reputation and very quick to pull it down and damage it.
I mean, those there, I nearly jumped out of my seat then because Brad moved really, really closely to the screen.
I forgot. I'm like, hello. I'm reading that.
If I'd had me 3D glasses on, Brad, I'd have been pooing myself. I mean, those are just three. And okay, it's the tabloid press. You've got TalkSport, you've got the Sun, you've got the Mail. I mean, a lot of, in fairness, when I went onto a lot of websites, a lot of the broadsheets hadn't even covered it, other than the fact that Brendan had dropped it. So it is a miss, but it is that pulling the club through the dirt that hurts as much as anything. Andy just says to you here, Barry, a question: how would you punish them?
Well,
just put you on the spot there, Barry. No pressure.
I don't mind. I mean, I wasn't the manager, but if I was the manager, I think he's done the right thing. He's got to set these people an example and got to make sure they understand what they've done. The problem is created by them, not by the manager. He's taken the actions. The players have let the side down. The players have given you the bad result, not the manager. And he's done that. He's punished the players because of what they've done, and therefore they're at fault. He's not at fault. If he'd let it gone by, people would think he's not bothered, not interested, and he's a poor manager, and the club will even be in a worse situation. I don't get too excited about newspaper headlines and stories because they start off the size of a sixpence and they end up the size of a football, because what happens is the press blow everything up to make it sensationalized, and that's how they sell newspapers. And they'll make all sorts of stories and add on to the story that starts off the problem. And then before you know where you are, you've got 16 more stories attached to it, making it something massive. And that's the trouble with the press. They sell newspapers. That's what their job is. Sensationalize everything they do,
Yeah. Barry, I'm going to let you go. Thank you so much for coming on. Barry has very kindly donated, and I'll mention it again because it is such a good read. Minding My Own Football Business, 30% off at mindingmyownfootballbusiness.co.uk. And Barry has very generously, and we're probably going to do this probably after the FA Cup now, he's donated a free copy of this, and he will personally sign it and put a message in there for you. Even if it's get lost, you whatever, he'll put whatever you want in. So if it's a present, he'll donate it for somebody else.
A banner in there, Pierpoint out. How about that?
I was waiting for that. You know, like when you get the programs recently, you used to get them and there was a poster inside. I was waiting for one of those with it. Barry, as always, thank you for the support for this channel. Really appreciate it. You take care and stay safe. And like I say, we'll get that book sorted out before the end of the month.
Thank you very much. Have a good day. God bless. Take care.
Cheers, Barry. Take care, mate. Take care. Bye. Thanks to Barry for coming on there. He always says it as it is. And it's great to have, a chief executive giving us his thought, or an ex-chief executive, I should say. Guys, and I'll come to you first, Brad, because you were looking at those headlines. That's the thing, isn't it? That it is dragging the club through the gutter again, because, we've said the press are just looking for anything to pounce on, and we've given it to them.
Yeah, and Barry was quite right with a lot of what he said there. To 3-1 on your big day out, Chris, in your point of how they should get punished. Apparently, according to Barry, he was in agreement with, but
I know. I got to be honest with you. I take it on board, that you were all wrong, but you had your opinions. But no, in fairness, that's good.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I can see your point of view. I do see it. And like you said, it's all about opinions on how it's handled. But the fact that, if you'd have added to you've seen the headlines just from not seeing them in public, apart from these pictures of Maddison's car and at a golf course, obviously. But I mean, like a public apology, like what we were talking about earlier, and what Barry said about chucking them in at the deep end and leaving them 3 inches tall and left to drown, sort of thing. If you added that on top of what they've already managed to concoct from words, and what they've been told by people. Because, I mean, at one point I heard a story, and I don't know how true it is, because the only people that know how true it is the ones that were at the Perez party and the higher hierarchy at Leicester City. But I heard, and it's not a defence again, but I heard they were having a celebration in regards to the Leicester City Women's Championship victory. I'm not saying it defends it, but I'm saying people have broke it in a lot more way, and the result makes a good point. You know, whoever it was that put that comment up, had they won the game, you know, I think a lot of people, Carl Walker, most infamous one I know, that has broke it several times. You know, these players haven't learned not only from their own mistakes, they've not learned from other clubs and other players' mistakes. So it's a bit irrelevant to say, well, they learn, because they won't learn. Obviously, they haven't learned at this point. They're not gonna. But my point is, yes, they broke their protocol. Rules are rules, and it doesn't matter which way you bout it. It's the point, the principle. The fact is, you're looking at it and you're thinking, you could look at the punishment the same way as you could look at, well, would we be speaking about it if Leicester had gone on to win? We wouldn't have been so bothered. We might have been easier to forgive them. But if, say, Brendan Rodgers, and this is why I think Brendan Rodgers has got it spot on, if he chucks them in front of the media, lets them take a battering, lets them go onto there with their heads hanging, tails between the legs, and they get bombarded with questions, and then they get ripped to shreds by fans, and then they get a 2-week fine, a train with the reserves. How far do you go before someone goes, fucking hell, Gaffer, I know they broke protocol, but God, are you going to start fining me 20 grand for sneezing? Because that's a bit ridiculous. You know what I mean? I think he had to find a point, and he thought it's more harm and hurts them more and gets a better reaction from them to stop them doing their job, because their job's to go out on the pitch and win. And let's also remember, today they're going to feel the wrath of the players in training, because the players they let down, the squad they let down, has gave them daggers today. They might not have said anything. They might have been a bit laughing and joking, but you know that the likes of Maddison on that training pitch have probably felt, oh, fucking hell, I can feel the burn. You know what I mean? I can feel them players saying, you did let us down, mate. That's not right.
That's a good point. And Craig, what about the fans? I mean, the social media these days, I put a thing on Twitter and I tagged all three of, Madders, Chowdhury and Perez in it. I'm not saying they read it. They probably don't. They get that many tags for everything all the time. But they will see from social media. And years ago, the players probably were cushioned against this because we didn't have social media. Here, the players will know how the fans are feeling. Mm-hmm. And in a way, that is kind of a bit of a punishment as well, that they know out there. And it's just a case of, it's not lip service going like, yeah, we know we've let players down and what have you. They're going to be seeing people saying, and I'm not saying the abusive tweets or anything like that. That's out of order and that shouldn't happen. But the guys, you should be fined as well, which was sort of my sort of comment. And guys, you've let the club down. They're going to see those. Oh, really? Aren't they, Craig?
Yeah. They are. I mean, there's a couple of things here. I think they could have been fined and that money given to a charity. Yes, it makes no difference to them, but at least a charity would have been benefiting from it. I think the other thing is, you're right in saying that they will be aware of how the fans feel, whereas in the past, players were protected. What I would also say is that the club, as it stands now, has to protect their assets as well. For the best will in the world, they've got players who are worth millions and millions of pounds. And if they're going to stay, you've got to get the best out of them. And putting them in front of a camera, so as Barry said, they feel 2 inches tall, is going to really damage the bond between a manager and a player. It's already damaged now. If they've got to build that, he's got to somehow try and get the best out of them as assets for the club on the pitch. I don't think you do it by putting them out there. And I remember probably the best manager that we would probably all agree the best manager ever was Alex Ferguson. Never once did he come out and name and shame his players and put them through the ringer. He would protect them. He would put an arm around them in public. In the dressing room, he would put them through the bloody ringer. And I would imagine that's exactly what Rodgers is doing. He's protecting them as much as he can in front of a camera, but he's letting them know exactly how he feels and the rest of the players feel.
Playing devil's advocate here, Craig, and I'm going to stick with you for this because it's a point that you've made. And as parents, we know, you don't tell your kids off in front of other kids.
Yeah.
You take them inside, you take them into a separate room. I've been a manager at work. I don't know sort of you guys, but, if ever I had a problem with a member of staff on my team, it was never dealt with at the table. It was never dealt in front of the team. Exactly. It was like, come on, we need to let's go into a room. And I totally agree with you on, is the manager's job to have that trust. And this is why everybody's going mad about Jose and what he did with Luke Shaw. I mean, he hung Luke Shaw out to dry when he was there. But, and I'm totally playing devil's advocate here because I agree with what you're saying. Ferguson and Eric Cantona, after what he did, and I'm still all these years later trying to work out what the bloody Ellis Eagle had to do with it. He made him come out and sit there and do that. And I don't think particularly Cantona went off the boil, did he?
I don't think Ferguson had a choice. That was a criminal act, and he was put through a criminal court. It's a different scenario. I don't think Ferguson had any chance. He couldn't just keep him away from it. I think at that point, and Cantona may have wanted to make a statement. Let's be fair. That making that statement didn't do him any harm. It's followed him around ever since. It's almost added to his legend, doesn't it? But I think Rodgers just has to put a lid on it. As I say, none of us know the ins and outs of it. They have to be treated like children. I think it's exactly the same. It's a father and child relationship that's going on here. You don't hang them out to dry in public. You put your arm around them. You let them know that instances like that will not be tolerated again. Yeah. And then you try and get a reaction. And if you don't get a reaction, that's where... I would say, if you don't get a reaction...
we're living in now, in the fact that they're shouting at players, they're throwing, boots at the players or pinning them up against the wall, etc. Doesn't work these days. Whatever you say about, being men and growing balls, it just doesn't work. Brad, I want to ask you this because I don't agree with this, but this Facebook user here, and he says he's entitled to his opinion, and it's opinion he's got, fined and left out of the FA Cup semi-final game. Is that not cutting our nose off to spite our face? And yes, they were bad, but then, the club's been harmed already, with this loss, and with no guarantee we would win it if he had been playing. Is that a step too far? For me, it is, because it's the biggest game in our history for a long time.
The fact that there's already and I'm going to say a minority because I have only seen it in fleeting parts, and you're one of them as well, Chris. And I do agree with you to an extent on it. The fact that we already have a few minority of fans that are saying, "Yeah, but we should have put our overall objectives ahead of the punishment because they shouldn't have been. We needed Maddison for the West Ham game. We shouldn't be forced to miss it. The club shouldn't face a punishment." Well, you're a business, you're a football team. One fails, you all fail. I could quote something like that all day. That would be then taking it too far because they've had the suffering. They've been steamrolled by people on Twitter, etc. who could repeat the same tiring facts all the time. They've had it. They've got it. And like Craig, which, in the midst of you guys talking amongst yourselves, I think Craig was saying, if that hasn't sunk in, then he's got something to deal with on harsher terms. You've punished the club because of four people's mistakes, because they're a team and there's no I in team, right? So the players knew it. The players would have...
There isn't me if you look closely enough.
Well, there is true. Some players do take that like Craig.
I'm being facetious, Brad. I'm being facetious. You carry on, mate.
Yeah, and after the show, I'm going to look up the word the word I can't say and learn how to say it. No, but I think like we've clocked on a lot on this video is I think there's a balance, isn't there? You have to find a balance. You can't Jose Mourinho the situation and fine them, drop them, throw them in a bus, and then drown them for what it's worth. And you can't overstep your own point. Their job is, and we talked before we came on air, Chris, about it's not just a match fee they lose. There's extra bonuses and incentives behind them. And I know people might say, well, it's not that much, but it hurts you. Sometimes the way to hurt a player, direct, get the point, and draw a line under it, which I feel like, there would have had to have been some discussion. It's not like Brendan's just pulled them in like the evil headmaster at school and gone, right, you're suspended for this game. You're not playing. You're all knobheads there. This is something they've gone, this would happen to anyone. You're not above anybody in this club. You broke the laws. You knew the punishments. You've been caught. I will see you bright and early Monday morning for training because you're not coming on the coach to support the teams. Yeah. And in a way, I know it's not good for the club. Obviously, we'd like to have won the game, but in a way, this could act as a fire up for them. Losing that game could make them players go, right, I want to make my own statement the way I can, in the way they should do, and that is, Gaffer, get me on that pitch for the semi-final. Because if we go out in the semi-final and them 3 players aren't even on the bench, not necessarily starting, because I don't think Perez would start anyway if Maddison's fit. If this wasn't a thing, if we were discussing an 11 for Southampton, I just think if you tilt that too far, and then we go out the FA Cup, people are going to say he took it too far. Yeah. Why didn't he just do this instead? You know what I mean?
Moving on, Craig, I think I should just point out to any children watching, knobhead is a technical term associated with football players.
Just a quick thing on that, Chris. Just a quick thing on that. I think if you leave them out of the Southampton game, you're then starting to punish the players who haven't done anything wrong.
Yes, we don't deserve it.
Because they need...
Southampton, they've lost 3-0, by the way.
Right, okay.
So they're in just as much confidence and form as we are going into the semi-final.
Yeah. I think, because the players will be really annoyed and angry at what these guys have done. But they know they're good players and you want your best players around you. You want to get to a cup final. So by not playing them, as I say, I think you just hurt the other players who have done nothing wrong. So I think would be a really tough call.
Yeah. You've hurt the 4, don't hurt the other 20 anymore.
Yeah, I think we have to look at it and say, how far, like I say, does the punishment go, and where you stop punishing, like you both have just said there, stop punishing them and start punishing, as much as anything else, the fans as well, because, yes, okay, we've lost to West Ham, and it was very close in the end. It was probably closer than the match sort of suggested, started. But sooner lose that than the semi-final. If we lose the semi-final, because of this, if it said, well, we're going to play you for West Ham, I'm going to leave you out the FA Cup, and then we'd lost the FA Cup. A, I think Brendan would have been roasted alive, and B, like I say, I think it would have hurt, as you guys have said, the rest of the players, because it's their chance to play in an FA Cup final, but it would have hurt us fans as well, would it not? Either of you?
Yeah, it was right. Yeah, sorry, Brad.
No, go on.
And you've got to understand as well. You've got to have a hierarchy of punishment as well. As what they've done is bad, it's not as bad as they've been caught in sleeping with another player's wife, or they've done X, Y, and Z. You've got to have some kind of hierarchy. What do you do next for the next one? If you're going to say now that you don't play them again, you sell them or whatever, if someone steps out of line on a bit of a higher level, where do you go? I think you've got to try and step it. We've all got, if you've got kids, you've got different levels of punishment. You get grounded for a week, a month, or whatever. So you've got to bear that into account as well in terms of what they've done.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing, the last thing here is, this may work. If Brendan plays it right, it could work in a positive fashion, because let's say Maddison realizes that he's been an idiot and he plays out of his skin for the rest of the season. There'll still be teams who want to come and take him offers. Jamie Vardy didn't go to Arsenal for 2 reasons. One, I don't think he liked the style of play, but 2, and he's come out and said this many times, he appreciated what the club did for him. This could work the same way. You never know. That Maddison grows up a little bit and realises what Brendan has done for him and his career and helped him out. And when people come thinking, he starts to think he owes the club something. So, you know, that's an opportunity for Brendan to try and play this to our own benefit.
The questions now are, do we see the band of brothers again, where, you know, the players have had a go, and Brendan might have said to the players, go and make them feel bad today, get it out your system, say what you've got to say to them, and then let's get back to this, you know, let's get back to things. You know, one of the reports there in the paper was like a split dressing room. I don't, you know, you don't know. You don't know. We're not there, but it could, like you say, bring everybody together. I mean, Gary Neville's saying here that, you know, what this will mean, you know, Leicester finish outside the top 4 just a month after naming them as third place finishers, and it's similar to last year's slide. You know, we've lost 2 games to the best team in the country. And West Ham are the 4th best team in the country. It's not a disgrace. You know, Chelsea lost to West Brom. West Brom, I think, have done us a favour today by beating Southampton, because they're going into the game the same as us. But I just want to bring this up and get your guys' thoughts on this, because I brought it by accident earlier. But if this works, I'll be impressed. There we go. I don't know if you guys can see that at all, but this is the world's most valuable football clubs. And little old Leicester are in there at number 19. Now, West Ham are above us. I'm not sure how that happens. And Everton, well, you know, but the fact that we're talking, you know, that's where we are as a club now, aren't we? We're not little old Leicester. We have to remember we are a different club these days, Craig.
We are, you know, and we're on a global stage now, and that's why it's really important in how you deal with these things, you know, and players have got to want to come to your club as well. So if they see things like this happening in terms of the players being vilified, that's not going to help. You know, you've got to project yourself as a professional club, and as Barry touched on, the way that Brendan has dealt with it in a very professional manner. You know, you come into Leicester City and there are guidelines that have to be adhered to on and off the pitch, standards. You come here to become a better player, but also to become a better person. You know, we're on that level now, and, you know, Brendan has to deal with it on that thing. This is the first real thing that Brendan's had to deal with off the pitch, I think. So he sort of set his marker down. Everyone else now knows where they stand with him. You know, if you do this, you're not going to be playing in, you know, what happens if this was the cup final? The next game was the cup final. I bet he would have done exactly the same, Brendan, and the players would have hurt a lot more. So I think that he's laid his marker down, and I don't think anybody will think they can step out of line and get away with it again.
No, let me just get Brad back in, because Brad, what I wanted to say to you was punishment more for Maddison, because his England place is in jeopardy now. You know, and you know, we can all criticise the source and say, yeah, it's Talk Sport, or it's the Sun, or it's the Mail, or it's Sky, whoever. You know, any bad reports, and we don't like the source. You know, but you know, they're saying Leicester star James Maddison can't be trusted and ruled out of Euro 2020 contention.
I mean, take Kyle Walker and Phil Foden out of contention. They shouldn't play. They shouldn't play at the Euros, and they shouldn't be on the team sheet or on the plane going to England, because they've done exactly the same. Not in the same way, but they broke their own protocol and got done for it. Like
Did they miss any games?
I don't see. They probably had lesser punishment. I don't actually. I think Kyle Walker got a fine, you know. And you know, their fans reacted the way they did about it. Kyle Walker went and drove silly amount of miles for his mum's cooking. I mean, he's even more of a ridiculous reason maybe on a par for ridiculous reasons to break a COVID violation. Not that any are acceptable, but it's one of them, isn't it? Where, you know, a club handles it differently. I personally, you know, and people don't agree with me and Craig and yourself here, but you know, I think that the punishment's acceptable. It's done what it has done. At the end of the day, you can't say, oh well, is it because it's little old Leicester, that the cliche that still sticks to our name, that because it's mad at that's it, that rules it out. Well, Foden's first name on the team sheet. Foden's still going to the Euros. He broke protocol. Walker's broke it 3 times, I think. Or at least twice, I know of. He's definitely breached COVID twice. These players, other players, not just English players, have broken it. They're not going to be stricken off the team because they're quality. And if he comes back into the fold after his game out, you know, he's had a clip round the ear roll. I know not allowed to do that these days because, you know, laws and stuff. But, you know, back when you were actually able to discipline your children and give them a good clip round the ear roll, he hasn't had this. He's had it done in today's generation version of it. You know, if it, like Craig said, if he now goes and has an absolute shit show of sorry, excuse me, French, I shouldn't have said that. Of a 7-8 games that we've got left, you know, 7 league games and potentially 2 FA Cup games, and he has a flying run end to the season. Are you telling me Southgate's going to go, that's my best midfielder, he's got the most assists, he's paid the best, but I can't pick him because he broke COVID? No, Gareth Southgate wants his best players on that plane to England.
Well, we don't know with Southgate. That's another
True,
discussion.
but anyone with half a brain and not a yes man, anyone that's got half a brain cell and isn't a yes man for the FA, if that was Manchester United, right? Let's put it in a different context.
Let's move past Man United. And
Craig, but if it's a transfer, they're not going to not sign him on that, are they? They're going to sign him on his performance.
Sorry, I see what you mean. Yeah. Rob, as I think he's having a kinky session here because he said he's on about being slippered, and we don't want to go down there, Rob.
This is the wrong website for slippers, mate, and that sort of story.
Yeah, it's www.bradathome.co.uk.
Don't tell him I've not set the website up yet.
What do you mean? I've paid for my subscription.
Oh well, you'll get 30% off cod bashing. Remember that.
Craig, it is. I mean, one of the things about me wanting to do this tonight is that tomorrow night's show I want to talk about the FA Cup. I don't want to sort of be talking about this tomorrow. So that was the idea of me doing it now. But yeah, it is a time you've got to. Do you think? When Brendan did this, he looked at 2 things. Was that, okay, I've got Harvey Barnes who's injured. I've got Chowdhury who I may kick out at the end of the season anyway. Perez who's good or bad depending, you know, what clouds overhead on the particular morning when he wakes up. And Maddison who's one of my best players. But he's got to treat them all the same. And if he does go too hard and it actually flicks over onto sort of next week as well and the cup semi-final. Do you think those 2 things were in his head when he was deciding the punishment?
I think so. I think he's come out, you know, he's decided, he's chosen what to do and when to do it. And don't forget, this happened last week. This was last weekend after the Man City. So somehow they've managed to keep it quiet for a week. It's come out because people start asking questions as soon as a team sheet's put in. So, you know, let's not just think that he's going to start having conversations with the players now. He's had all week to have conversations with the players, you know, so he's told them what's going to happen. He's now come out publicly and said what's happening. It's a 1-game ban, essentially. They've had a 1-game ban. And now they've got to go forward and try and build that team morale back up. And as you say, hopefully it'll pull them together as a team. And, you know, almost you use negatives in a positive way. You know, you rally around, you put in the old-fashioned parlance, you circle the wagons and you come together as a team and you try and go forward now. This, on top of what happened last season by falling away, you would think has only got to make them stronger. You know, we as fans at the end of these next few weeks will see what our club is all about. On and off the pitch.
Mackie, has made the point here, Richard, and I was just going to make exactly the same point, Mackie, here. Draw a line under it and go on to win the cup and finish third. This is our best chance ever. And me at 67 might not see them in this position again. It'd be a nice double, that FA Cup and Champions League, wouldn't it? You know what? We have got to draw a line, haven't we, Brad? It's happened. It's been dealt with, and as you know, a lot of what I say on here is being devil's advocate and creating conversation. It's my job. But it comes a time now where, like I've said to you, I wanted to do this tonight. As I said to Craig, I wanted to do this tonight, so tomorrow we can look forward to the FA Cup. This is line drawing time, line in the sand. Yeah. Brendan's dealt with it. Let's move on.
Yeah, and I think you could literally use exactly what you said. That's exactly how Brendan might have ended his conversation with them players in regards to it. He might have said, I do not want this dragging out. I do not want this going on to the FA Cup. I do not want my pre-press conference to be about how have you dealt with the players? What's the situation? You only gave them a fine. Was there anything else? I want this done out in the public so everybody is aware. And that's exactly what he did after the West Ham game, or whenever it was he made them statements where he said they're dropped. They're not playing. They're not travelling. They did crime. They serve the time. It's drawn a line under it. It's unavoidable that the players might get asked the odd question. But I want everybody knowing that's it. Their punishment and the club will not suffer for their actions any more than they have to. That's it. We can concentrate fully now on preparing us for the FA Cup. Exactly like you just said, Chris, but that's how Rodgers will do it.
Craig, and I don't know whether this is true or not. But this golf club thing, you may have seen something different. All I've seen is a picture of his car, which I don't know whether it is his car. It said MAD on it. People are saying it's his car. There's no proof of where that car was. It could have been in my parking space down here, for all I know.
Could have been with the King Power. They like to keep the cars there, just so you know, as a former employee, they keep the cars in this.
Exactly. Would he have been better just staying at home and keeping his head down? If it is true, and I'm not, with this, we don't know if this is true or not.
There's a couple of things. I mean, I saw something that was put out on Instagram, I think now, whether that was true or not, which was from the golf club that he was playing at, who said that he played 9 holes and he left at 1:45 or something like that, 1:15. Yeah, I think, he should have stayed at home. But we also don't know, as I said, this has been going on for a week. He may have got permission to go and do that by Brendan. But we don't know. Everything is speculation, and that's the problem. Brendan's come out and made a statement. If it is draw a line on it, then he's drawn a line, and Maddison, from his own point of view, you would have thought that Maddison would just keep his head down. The same way it was when he got sent home from the England squad for being, for having a cold, I think. Just put your head down. Thing is, if he was a little bit older, he was married, he was living with someone, or he was still living with his mum or whatever, he'd have had somebody else telling him to not be an idiot. What he is, what he is a young lad living alone with a pocket full of cash, and he doesn't know. He's not had to grow up, and that's.
Do you remember those days, Craig?
A long time ago, mate.
But a point you've made there, and all I've seen in the whole time is that one picture. So this is why I'm not, committing either way on it. But if what you've just said is true, 9 holes and leaves at 1:15, he could be home for the game. It was a 2:05 kickoff.
Yeah.
We are presuming, and I presumed as much as the next person, we all do. We see something and we make an instant judgment, an instant opinion that he was there all the time. But if the club are saying, obviously, he was there, then obviously he was. But he played 9 holes and was back for 1:15. What's wrong with that, Brad? Because at the end of the day, he's back to watch the game. It's morning's his morning, isn't it?
Yeah, and look, like Craig said, this wasn't something that happened on the Saturday night, and then they were kicked off the team bus on before it set off to the London Stadium. This was something that, like Craig said, it happened a week in advance. Maybe if you're in a perfect world, Roger's waiting for, when I told you to unwind, Maddison, I meant to stay out the camera light, but media hound you wherever you go. He could have gone to Tesco's and people would have blown it out like, well, why is he going out there and food shopping? You should be watching the game. Yeah. On a quick little point, and I promise you, this won't be a Brad speech, it'll be a quick one. Some people, everybody acts for differently to criticism. When you've been scolded, no matter what you are, no matter what your profession, no matter what level you are, or what stage of life you are, sometimes when you're frustrated, you're angry, whether it's at someone or yourself, when it comes to work, you need to find a way to blow off steam. And maybe you was told, look, Gaffer, I know it might not be wise. I know I've done wrong. And he's held his hands up and he's been like, sorry, Gaffer, I've really let everybody down. Is it okay with you? I'll make sure I'm back at the ground, maybe, or at home before the game kicks off. And I'm not going to not miss the game and not watch us try and win the game. I just need to go and blow off steam and get my head together and have a little sulk. Because I've done some bad things in my life at work and I've just gone, I've been sent home, I had a day off. I've been told, go and get your head right. I'll see you again Monday. Sorry if you heard that. I was just an idiot on a electric lawnmower going past. Very loud. I've had a day at work where everything's gone wrong. I've caused an accident or something, and I've just been told, look, go home, and we'll see you Monday. And then my boss or someone at work's gone, hey, Saturday's come along, and I've gone to the pub and I've had a few drinks and I've drowned my sorrows and I've cursed at myself for doing something wrong. And I've not then, I've been allowed to do that, and I've gone to work and I've been better for it. And like Craig said, the devil's advocate in the part, if you put your arm around the player, and don't bombard them, you don't say, no, you have to stay at home. You now have to stay at home. You're banned from a week. You can't leave there. You have to go to work, come back, train with the kids or all that. You've got to find that happy balance. And unfortunately, we're in a different generation where the balance is tweaked to certain things. And nobody said anything about what Harvey Barnes or Morgan or Chowdhury might have done. For all we know, they could have been having a poker night. An online poker night, but no one's going to bring that up because they didn't come for the home. It's not. Maddison seems to be one of them people that when he needs to unwind and vent these, he goes and does something in the public eye. You know what I mean?
Yeah. When you said it wasn't going to be a long one, did you?
Hey, normally I'm 7 minutes. That was only 2.5.
I'll let you off. I just actually want to read this out to you because Andrew Bird, Craig's, he's made this comment in the group. I'm about to post it to the group, but he said, don't know if you follow Leicester City ladies. We do in the group, mate. I've got a poster in the group, and his job is just to keep me informed and post about Leicester City ladies. And congratulations once again to them, of course. They're now part of the club and just won promotion to Super League. All their players went to a party breaking COVID rules a few weeks ago, and that was all forgotten within a week. I don't even remember seeing that they went to a party, to be honest with you, but
Well, this is what I heard. I actually saw a couple of tweets that were saying that the lads that went out on the night they did were involved with this party. I've actually seen, and they have disappeared since then, but there was like an hour or so where the media blew up saying, well, they were out partying with the women. And it's kind of like the point and the principle, but okay, maybe they didn't know, or maybe they were just so naive and thought they could get away with it. Like Craig said, thinking they're a bit big for the club and they'll get away with it. They'll be all right. But, it's kind of like in a small defence, why it doesn't, fix the situation or make up for it, but they were celebrating with the team. And I did see that. So there is something there to that, to that tale.
Is maybe, and again, no disrespect, and I know I'm going to get, absolutely pounded for this, but it maybe didn't make the papers because they're not England players, potential England players. It is And it's great that the women's football club's done so well. They're in the Super League. They've signed a new deal, the Super League, with Sky for next season. It's great that it's coming on. I've watched England ladies, and to be totally honest with you, I think they play better than the England men sometimes. But they're not. It's not as high profile as the Premier League for the male. And Craig, there's another post here, and it's Darren Thompson. He's put up a picture of himself with Madders, and it says, "My 11-year-old changed his profile picture from his hero below. That's not good. Hope he might change it back before the end of the season." It is those little things that, like you say, we nudge in, but we are going to draw that line, aren't we?
Yeah, and what I would say as well, the last time Maddison came in for public criticism was when Carragher called him out on Sky Sports and saying, you don't contribute enough, you don't have enough assists, you don't score enough goals. His reaction then was to go out and have his best run of form that he's had all season. I'm hoping that he's the kind of guy who responds to this criticism in exactly the same way and goes out and shows people that he's a better footballer than he is a person.
Yeah. I just want to go back to something you said there, Brad, which I can't. I'm going to have to take exception to and say I really, really, really don't believe this, that you think James Maddison shops at Tesco. I think you'll find he's more of a Waitrose man, if I'm honest with you.
Yeah, well, I was maybe reminiscing with my own shopping list.
If I'm reminiscing about me, it's Aldi, I tell you. I want to ask you this very quickly, guys, before we go. Does this not... This gives me goosebumps when I read this today, and remembering the little old Leicester, where we were, Yeovil on a wet Tuesday in League One, blah, blah, blah. We are apparently the 19. You could argue who's above us and what have you, but we are arguably the 19th richest club in the world. I think it's the world anyway. Yes, it says in the world. It's unbelievable. I have to pinch myself, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it's done on the wealth of the owners.
Let's have a look.
But whether it's done on the net value, the stock market value, or whatever it is. But yeah, it just shows that we've come a long way.
It includes revenues apparently as well.
Revenue, okay.
Yeah. Not just revenue, but it includes it.
Yeah. But if you look at most of those teams there, let's take out West Ham. We'll give Everton a pass. The rest of those teams would have been in that list for the past 10, 20 years. We're there now because we're being fairly successful. We know as Leicester City fans that could all implode very, very quickly. So, it's great to see it. But at the end of it, it piles more pressure on you because you stop being looked at as the smaller club who are sort of the insurgents almost against the big clubs. You become one of the big boys, and then the pressure becomes even greater. So while it's nice to see, I would have liked us to have been sort of 21st and just off the page, to be honest.
Guys, it's been a great show. Thank you so much for coming on and having your thoughts, and agree to disagree on a lot of matters, but opinions are opinions, and yours are probably more correct than mine. So thanks for coming on. Craig, I will see you on Thursday with the preview show.
Not Friday,
to Southampton. And Brad, let's hope we're going to have something nice to talk about on Sunday post-game.
Yeah. Let's hope the only thing we're talking about Maddison breaking is the back of the net with a couple of goals, eh? Let's really put it to bed and make it go to the back of people's mind. Yeah.
One question answer here. And one question answer. I'm probably speaking to the wrong two people here, but one question answer. Can we beat Southampton and get to a Wembley final? Brad, yes or no?
Definitely.
Okay. Craig?
Yes. I mean, if I said no, then
there we go.
I don't know what I'm doing on this channel. Yeah.
What I need is everybody on here to have an individual sound button. Do it as a group. Oh, guys, hey, as always, thank you very, very much. Like I say, your opinions are always interesting, always welcome, and you talk, I say, a lot more sense than I have ever spoken. So thank you very much, and I will see you Tuesday and Sunday respectively. Take care, guys.
Cheers,
thanks a lot.
See you, Brad. See you, Chris. See you, everyone. Bye.
See you, Chris.
And I've lost my mouse. Where's my mouse gone? I don't know. Right, guys, thanks so much. So, yes, we are trying to get my mouse working at the moment, and it is refusing to. So let's try and bring that on, and it's still not working. Maybe the battery's gone. Never work with technology, computers, animals, or kids. Right, here we go. Thanks for joining, guys. Thanks for watching. It's been interesting. Line's now withdrawn. Line's been drawn, and we can forget about it. We can move on, and we can look forward to an FA Cup semi-final. West Brom did us a favour today because I think, Southampton aren't going in on a high thinking they're better than us because they've won and we've lost. They lost 3-0. We lost 3-2. Maybe Sam Allardyce. Maybe he's having his lucky touch. And don't forget, guys, of course, if you have missed it at all, Minding My Own Football Business, the book by Barry, who very kindly joined us earlier. Go to mindingmyownfootballbusiness.co.uk, just that one site only, and that one site will give you a 30% discount if you click on it. So, and as I can't say what a too much what a good read it is. It really is. Thanks for watching. You can catch us on Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube. Remember to press that subscribe button, please. Help us get the numbers up. We would be forever grateful. If you want to listen to this while you're out mowing the lawn, while you're out for a walk now, all right, down the pub, put the old headphones in, earphones in, or if you're washing up for the missus and you want to listen to us, you can do. We are on Anchor FM, Google Podcasts, Apple iTunes, Spotify, Podcast Addict, Amazon Music, just to name a few. Thanks very much, guys. All the best. I will see you tomorrow night with the football show. It's an FA Cup special. Hopefully, we're going to have Steve Lynix on, and he will be able to tell you because he was in the last semi-final that we were in, back against Tottenham Hotspur. Back was it 82, something like that. It was a while ago. Take care, guys. Thanks for joining us tonight. Thanks for your comments. Thanks for joining in. Couldn't do it without you. See you tomorrow night at 7.
Hello,
good night.
Matt Elliott here. Be sure to watch Leicester Till I Die TV on YouTube and follow all their social media platforms for all the latest updates and news on Leicester City Football Club.
Thanks for watching Leicester Till I Die. This is Chris saying goodbye and see you next time.
Some people are on the pitch. They think it's all over. It is now.